What's going on, people? Hope you're doing good. Welcome back to another first time watchers of the month video, July edition today. Let's get into it. I kicked off the month with Jurassic World Rebirth, and I said it in my review, I was not a fan of this movie, even though I think it's the best Jurassic World movie. There are some good dinosaur sequences, and I think visually it's really good, but other than that, it's just nothing special. The characters are bland, the story is all over the place. There's two storylines, and one of them is so boring you don't care about it whatsoever. The actors seem very uninterested. I have no idea why they rushed this movie out, other than to get some money. It's so uninspired. Why did they want to tell this story? I have no idea. So Jurassic World Rebirth was not that good. Just please bury this franchise already. And then I watched Alarum. I recently reviewed this one. This is the worst movie of 2025, and as I said in my review, if it is not number one on my worst movies of the year list come December, I will eat peanut butter. I hate peanut butter, so if that happens, I promise you I will do that. And then I watched Past Lives. This was a really thought-provoking look into what ifs. It really does make you wonder how your life would have played out if certain things changed, but at the end of the day, you'll never know. You're here in this moment now, and you just have to accept that. I will say it was a little light on the plot for me, especially towards the back half, but I was never bored and constantly engaged because of the character relationships. It's wonderfully shot and directed, and the acting is so good that it makes the characters feel so real. So I love Past Lives. It's a great look into the human past and what led us to now. Definitely check it out when you can. And then I watched US Marshals. This is the sequel to The Fugitive, one of my favourite movies of all time, and I've just never gotten around to seeing this movie until now, and I've got to say it's pretty good, but nowhere near as good as The Fugitive. This is definitely a case of if this wasn't a sequel to that film, then I would have liked it a whole lot more, but because I'm comparing it to that original film, I do have to deduct some points off it. It really is trying to be the first film again. It literally is the same plot, the same setup, but it's just not that good in this movie. I was also sort of disappointed with the other US Marshals. For a film called US Marshals, you'd think they focus on them, which they do, but we never really know much about them, so the side characters are just kind of bland. But despite my issues, I did think this film was very entertaining. While it is basically a rip-off of the original film's plot, it still is very engaging, and there's some good twists and turns in there. And Tommy Lee Jones, he deserved that Oscar for the original film, and he is still so good in this movie. So I did enjoy US Marshals, even though it's nowhere near as good as the original Fugitive, so definitely give it a watch if you just want to kill some time. And then I watched Pixar's Elio, and this was a really fun time. Not one of Pixar's best, but certainly not one of their worst either. Got some good themes and messages in there for kids to learn. It's beautifully animated, one of Pixar's best looking films for me. The voice acting's really good. I just had a really good time with this movie. If you want to take your family to the cinema, make them be entertained by a good movie, this is definitely a film you should take them to see. And then I watched The Naked Gun. I watched all of these films for the first time in preparation for the new one, and I have to say, this is a comedy classic for me. I was laughing my arse off so many times during this movie. It is so funny. And it's a parody of old cop shows. The plot is very simple, but that's the whole point of it, because it is a parody. It's parodying them, maybe a little bit of James Bond in there as well. I also really liked how this film is not afraid to look really cheap. The opening title sequence is so good. All throughout these movies, it looks absolutely terrible, but that's the whole charm of it, and the acting is just so good, especially from Leslie Nielsen, who plays Frank Drebin. He plays the role so seriously that it comes off so comedic, and him and Priscilla Presley have some really good chemistry. I had a blast with The Naked Gun. It's one of my favourite comedies now, and I cannot wait for the new film. And then I watched Superman, recently reviewed this film. This is one of the best Superman movies ever made. James Gunn understands the character. Yeah, the story's a little bit all over the place, but it's still really engaging. David Corenswet is so good as Superman. He is Superman and Clark Kent. He was brilliant. I had a great time with Superman. The DCU is off to a great start. And then I watched The Naked Gun 2.5. This was easily not as good as the original film. Some jokes weren't that good, and I didn't really like how it undermined the ending of the first film. But this film is still very much entertaining. There are plenty of times where I was still laughing my arse off, and I really like how how the whole film is just so redundant because of the ending. That was just so funny. So I did enjoy this film. While it's not as good as the original, but it's still a really, really good time. And then I watched Happy Gilmore. What a fun 90 minutes this was. A very simple story, but told perfectly. Likeable and hilarious characters and well-earned character arcs. And somehow, it does the impossible and actually makes golf really engaging. This is one of Adam Sandler's best performances, one of his best films as well. I had a great time with this movie, so perfectly paced as well. Just gets on with it and it's a really light watch. Definitely watch Happy Gilmore if you haven't already. And then I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer. As I said in my review, I really don't understand why this movie is as big as it is. I think the characters are so lame, they're so boring, the kills are really boring, and it's just a very standard slasher movie. There are a few cool chase sequences. I do think the acting's really good as well, and it's shot pretty decently too, but that's about it. I really don't know why this movie got as big as it did. And then I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025 edition, and this movie was absolutely awful. This is basically a carbon copy of the original film, the same story, same setup, same characters basically. It's just so samey and it's just not interesting. The only times I was entertained was when the kills, because they're actually cool, and I do think the acting was pretty good, and this film has so much fan service that it gets so distracting. As I mentioned in my video, the movie stopped several times just so we can get some fan service in there, and the returning characters basically get nothing to do. Well, one person did get something to do, but I absolutely hated how they treated them. So I absolutely did not like I Know What You Did Last Summer. It had some entertaining kills, but that's about it. And then I watched Bring Her Back. I said it in my review and I'll say it again. Sally Hawkins, Oscar worthy in this movie. You know you need to do it, Academy. Give her a nomination. This was a really good look into grief and how it can play on the mind and make us do stupid things. The antagonist is sort of sympathetic as well because she has really gone through it in life, but you can't defend the nihilistic things that she does. It's shot brilliantly as well. I love the dreary look to the film and how the really bright colours contrast really disturbing actions. The acting is all really good. I absolutely love this film and I cannot wait to see what the Philippou brothers do next. And then we have The Naked Gun 33 1/3. This was easily my least favourite of the trilogy. Some jokes have not aged well whatsoever, and there's just certain times where they're just missing out on what made the originals work. For example, in the original two films, there's plenty of background gags, but in this movie there's hardly any of them. You don't understand how much you liked them until they're gone. And just like the second film, I don't really like how it undermined the previous film's ending. Maybe if they went in a different direction with it, maybe introducing Frank's son or something, I might have liked this movie a whole lot more. But despite my issues with this movie, I did still have a good time with it. I really like the concept of Frank having to pretend to be a criminal. That could have led to some really hilarious moments. There were still a few jokes that made me laugh out loud. I did like the final act at the Oscars. That was really, really fun, and the acting is still really good. So this is easily my least favourite of the trilogy, but I don't think it's a bad movie whatsoever. And then I watched The Fantastic Four First Steps, and I was so happy after this film. I came out of the cinema with a massive grin on my face. This is the film I've been waiting for. It was clearly made by fans of the characters. The cast was great. It looked brilliant with the retro futuristic 60s vibe. I had a great time with Fantastic Four First Steps, and for once, I cannot wait to see these characters again. And then I watched Prisoners. This is a Denis Villeneuve film, and it was pretty terrifying. This film is about child abduction, so if you're a parent with small kids, I really do think this movie will be really frightening. And that's because this movie feels so realistic, to the dialogue, to how people react, to what they do. It's just so realistic, and it's held by the brilliant performances, specifically by Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. But this movie is also about faith, religion, and it asks the question, how far will you go to protect the people that you love? It's a really good question to ask, and I think they show that question really well in this movie. So I really like Prisoners. It was a really tense film, really engaging film, but it is quite scary at the same time. And then we have Happy Gilmore 2, and this movie was a big disappointment. Credit where it's due, I did like the final golf game in this movie, and I do think some jokes were pretty good, but that is about it. This movie is just fan service and flashbacks to the original movie, and it thinks it's funny by just adding in random celebrity cameos. Tell me right now what Eminem and Post Malone have got to do with golf. Also, Adam Sandler looks so bored in this movie. It's like he just agreed to this movie just for a paycheck, so he can get paid, his mates can get paid, and it's really not a good idea to involve his family. I guess it's kind of cute to an extent, but also it's so distracting because you know there is real children. So I really did not like Happy Gilmore 2. It's a worse sequel in every way. It does not live up to the original. And then I watched KO. This is a French movie about an MMA fighter who goes against Marseille's criminal underworld. And I thought this movie was fine, but not great. This movie has plenty of tonal problems. One moment it's really serious, and then the next scene there's like some Fast and Furious stuff. The plot can be a little bit all over the place. There's a very forced romance for one scene and that's about it. And there's so many wasted opportunities. Like, I really would have liked to see how people react to this underworld and how their lives got roped into it, but we never really see that much. But despite my issues, I did still enjoy the film. The action's really good, even if it can be stupid. They do that cliche thing where someone has a clear shot of someone and then they never just take it because they want to continue the action scene. The cinematography is actually really good at times. There are some really good shots, but I do think again there's some wasted potential. Like, I really would have liked a different shade of colour when we're in like Marseille to show how dingy it is. That would have added a bit more effect to those scenes. So overall, I enjoyed KO. It wasn't great, I was expecting a little bit more, but it is still fairly entertaining, even though it has plenty of issues. And finally, we have Project X. This movie was insane. This is one of the craziest films I've seen in a while. This movie goes from 0 to 100 by the end, so out of nowhere that it was honestly entertaining. The plot could not be more basic. It's about a group of friends who want to throw a big party for his mate's birthday, and that's about it. That is literally the entire plot. The entire movie is just showcasing this party and showing it getting out of hand, and golly gee does it get out of hand. I can't really call this a good movie, but I can't really bring myself to hate it. I did still enjoy myself. If you turn your brain off, I think you'll have a good time with it. It does make this party feel so realistic, and maybe you'd want to be a part of it. So even though Project X just wasn't that good of a movie in terms of story, characters and all of that, it was still fairly entertaining, and honestly I'd watch it again if I had the chance. And there we go, those are my first time watches of July 2025. If you have any first watches that you'd like to share, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Have a good day guys, and see you later.